So good morning dear students, and we will continue with our discussion of the Tempest Act once in one, and we did till that particular portion where Gonzalo says that he has a great comfort even during that moment of crisis, because he feels that the boatswain has no drowning mark upon his face. So the complexion of the boatswain, the physical appearance of the boatswain is such that he is meant for perfect gallows. He is meant to be hanged. So in fact Gonzalo is of the opinion that the boatswain is born to be hanged, and that gives him some comfort that they will safely land on the shores, because the boatswain is not going to die by drowning. He is to be executed to the gallows because of his insolent behavior, because of his rude temperament. However, we get to know, immediately after that we get to know that the situation becomes even more adverse. The crisis is more heightened, because now the boatswain is shouting out to the mariners to manage the topmost sail of the ship. Down with the topmast. Okay, bring down the topmast, quick. He is urgency of situation. He is shouting, quick, lower, lower. Bring her to try with the main course. So lower that topmast, lower it in such a way, and keep the ship bow close to the wind with the topmast. Just at that particular moment, when he is desperately trying to control the ship from being drifted towards the shores, from running aground, he is able to hear a cry, a shout from the cabins. So all the royal people who were then in their respective cabins, they had lost all hope, and they were crying out of hopelessness, and that makes the boatswain even more annoyed. And he says, a plague upon this howling. A plague upon this howling. A plague upon means may a curse befall upon this shouting. And they shout in such a way that their voice is even more louder than the stormy sea. And just at that particular moment, the royal people like Antonio, Sebastian and Gonzalo, they reappear on the deck of the ship. And that annoys the boatswain even more. So being enraged, he shouts at them that yet again you all have come yet again onto the deck of the ship. What have you come here for? And he warns them that should they give up, should they surrender, and do these people, that is Antonio, Sebastian and Gonzalo, have a mind to sink in the sea. That is the reason why they are time and again interfering in the work of the boatswain. At this, Sebastian, who grows impatient, he is unable to exercise any control over his anger, and he also retorts back to the boatswain, shouts back at the boatswain in a furious way. He says, a plague on your throat. May a curse befall upon your throat, upon your tongue. And he addresses the boatswain as bowling, blasphemous, incharitable dog. Bowling, why? Because he was howling, he was shouting at them. And then blasphemous means a person who talks irrelevantly. And he also addresses the boatswain as incharitable dog, an uncharitable dog. So he rebukes, criticizes the boatswain. And now the boatswain thinks that he is desperately trying, he is giving all his effort, and at the same time he is making all the men work to their fullest ability so that they could save the ship and thus succeed in saving the lives of the people who are on board on that ship. But this particular man is shouting at him and saying that a curse may befall upon his tongue, and also he goes to the extent of addressing the boatswain as a howling, blasphemous and uncharitable dog. So that annoys the boatswain to a great extent, and he leaves his work completely. He says, "Work you then." He leaves the work and moves away from there. Antonio, hang, cur, hang. Cur means a dog. Okay. Wait, you insolent noise maker. Okay. We are less afraid to be drowned than thou art. So he blames the boatswain that he is in fact afraid of drowning. These royal people are not afraid of drowning. As a matter of fact, everyone on board on that ship are afraid of drowning. And you see, this particular scene is also significant because it throws light on the character of the people who are on board on that ship. We get to see King Alonso makes a feeble attempt to command the boatswain, and the boatswain does not obey the orders of the king. So that signifies that the king will have no control over the events that takes place in the play. And then Gonzalo is indeed a very wise person, because even in those adverse times he retains his calm composure and he tries to half-heartedly lighten the whole situation by his joke, his devastating wit. And Antonio and Sebastian, they are impatient people. They are unable to exercise any control over themselves. They are cynical in nature. They are unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation, and they spoil everything because they annoy the boatswain to a great extent, and he leaves the work entirely. And Gonzalo also, he says that he will assure, still he holds his half-hearted joke, and he says that he will assure that this boatswain is not going to die by drowning in the sea, even though the ship may be as weak as a nutshell. It may not be stronger than a nutshell, but ship may be completely wrecked in the sea, but even then this boatswain is not going to die by drowning. He will surely be hanged in the land for his insolent behavior. So boatswain still desperately trying, lay her a hold. A hold means try to hold the ship, keep the ship, check the ship from sailing into the wind. Set the foresail of the ship and the mainsail of the ship together so that it can be taken again off to the main course of the sea instead of drifting to the land. So he is desperately trying to encourage his men to keep the ship away from the shore. But by then the waves of the sea, they become even more fierce, and the water now enters into the deck of the ship. And all the mariners, they are wet. So the mariners reappear on the stage completely in wet condition. And now it indicates that they have lost their control over the ship. So the mariners crying, all lost, to prayers, all lost. So they have lost everything, all is lost, all their effort is in vain. They are unable to exercise any control over the ship. Now they have given up their hope, and therefore when we lose all hope, we have only one choice at that particular time, that is to pray and trust God. So they surrender themselves to prayers and they exit. Boatswain, what must our mouths be cold? Mouths be cold means, he says that what? We have lost all hope, we are going to die. Gonzalo, the king and prince had prayers. The king and prince, the king Gonzalo and Alonso and the prince Ferdinand, they have already given up their hope, and now they are praying in their cabins. So Gonzalo says that they must go and assist the king and the prince, because their case is also same as that of them. Sebastian, I am out of patience. He becomes impatient. He has no patience at all. Antonio says that they have been cheated. They have been deceived. They are going to die because of these drunkards. Who are these drunkards? The mariners. They had their last drink before dying. And that is the reason why Antonio says that they did not do their job properly. They did not work in a proper way. They were drunk, and that is the reason why they all are going to die. So whatever misfortune happens to the rich, they always blame the poor, the working class. So that shows the temperament of Antonio. So he is also equally impatient. He feels that he has been deceived, he has been cheated by the drunkards, by these mariners. The white-chapped rascal, would thou mightst lie drowning, the washing of 10 tides. So he says that the wide-mouthed rascal means the boatsman is responsible for the whole tragedy of the ship. And he wishes that the boatsmen were drowned near the shores, till 10 tides have washed over his dead body, his corpse. Then Gonzalo still he believes that he will be hanged yet. The man, the boatsman, is destined to die by hanging, though every drop in the ocean should swear against it and open its mouth as wide as possible to swallow them, to engulf the entire ship. But still, Gonzalo believes that this boatsman is meant to be hanged, not to drown in the sea. And at the same time, there is a confused noise within. There is a confused noise. There is shouting, crying, because they all are going to die now. The ship is almost sinking into the sea, and they now pray for mercy. Gonzalo says, may God have mercy upon them. They are going to be broken to pieces. Their ship is going to be broken to pieces. He bids farewell. He says, farewell my wife and children. He is not able to meet with his wife, his children. So he bids farewell to them. Farewell, brother. We split, we split, we split. So they are splitting. They are getting wrecked. Their ship is getting destroyed gradually. And the boatsman also exits. So Antonio says, let us all sink with the king. Okay, if they are going to die, they will die with the king. So Sebastian, let us go and take the leave of the king. You see, this is hypocrisy of the elite section of the society. Even they are going to die, but he still wants to be formal and he wants to take the leave of the king before he dies. So they also exit from the stage. Now Gonzalo makes the last comment. He says, now would I give 1,000 furlongs of sea for an acre of barren ground. Okay, he says that now Gonzalo is prepared to exchange 1,000 furlongs of sea for just 1 acre of dry barren land. That means what he desperately now craves for land. Long heath, brown furze, anything. So heather and gorse, plants that grow in very poor soil, anything, any piece of land will do at that particular moment for Gonzalo. The wills above be done, but I would fain die a dry death. The wills means let the will of heaven prevail. So let the will of heaven prevail means still he has the belief that this storm is caused by some natural force, by some powerful entity. So therefore he says that let the will of heavenly powers retain. But he wishes to die a dry death. He wishes he would be glad to die on the land. Okay. So that brings us to the end of this scene, and I will be giving you one more question on the dramatic significance of the opening scene, which you must write in your copy and read it thoroughly. Thank you and stay blessed.